I'm on the Kerwin Commission. I had to be because it was my bill. When I wrote that legislation, I had no idea it would ever take on the life that it has taken on. We've got over 30 members on the commission, and we have been meeting once or twice a week for the last year and a half, and we're still not finished. We're going to have another year to go on with it. But some of it I'm really excited about, and some of it I'm not impressed with at all. We have a consultant who came to NCSL, the National Conference of State Legislatures, and really sold a couple of people about his knowledge of education. And he, from what I'm finding out, really doesn't have any other projects that he has completed, but he knows a lot. But what turned me off was that he started out by pretty much saying that the schools in Maryland aren't doing really anything right. And every time I confront him with it, he'll say, oh, well, you know, there's some good stuff that's going on, but he likes to give the impression that we're not doing anything right. Well, let me tell you, we have a fabulous school system, especially in Montgomery County. I know that, and I know the innovative things that we're doing. The Kerwin Commission is looking at doing more innovative things, and we have some great ideas that we're going to come out with. And one of the reasons, well, there are a couple different reasons why we didn't do a final report, why we didn't end it this year. One is political reasons, because we don't know what this governor will do with the report once we get finished with it. And there has been so much work put into it that we really don't want to see it put on a shelf and just set aside. So that's one of the reasons why, is just for the pure politics of it all. But also because we have some of the initiatives that we're working on are going to take a real education process with the public. I think we can do some things. We can't just push it out there. You know it's already happened 1,000 times. You can't put something new out there and not explain it to the PTA and to the parents. They have to be able to understand what's going on with it. For example, one of the things that we're really excited about is this whole idea of early college, and MCPS is already doing some of it. Jack Smith I've met with him a couple different times. He's doing it already in a couple schools. But what we want to do is have a checkpoint at the end of 10th grade, so that if it's a student who is not performing well, who would go to a community college and have to take remedial courses, we can catch them in 10th grade and theoretically give them the services, the helps that they need, so that by the time they do graduate in 12th grade, they can read and write and don't have to take the remedial courses at the community college. And what we're finding, we're trying to get more kids to go to college, but the kids that go to Montgomery College and have to take these remedial courses that they have to pay for, that they don't get credit for, by the time they get into those courses, find out they're not going to get credit for it, they lose their enthusiasm and they drop out. So we've lost them. And once we lose them, it's really hard to get them back. So if we can do this remedial stuff at the end of 10th grade into 11th and 12th grade and actually get them out more successful, that's a huge plus. But on the other hand, for the kids that do pass that checkpoint, that have done really what they need to do to graduate, they can start this early college program, and by the time they end their senior year, they can get an AA degree. So I'm not even sure what schools Jack Smith said that he's doing that with, but there are a couple, and he's going to expand it a little bit more next year. So we're very excited about that. Another thing we're really looking at is the pre-K, to try and expand that. We're kind of moving away from calling it universal pre-K because some kids don't need it, but a lot of kids do. Some parents want it. It was just like all-day kindergarten. Some parents want it, some do not want it. So what we're trying to do is calling it, instead of universal pre-K, calling it available pre-K, so that anybody that needs those services, and being the grandmother, I pay more attention to this now. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter who went to preschool for a 2-, 3-, and 4-year-old program. I'll tell you, it gets them so ready for kindergarten, and that's where your education gaps starts. And we know that. It's not like it's new. We know that. And it's so hard for kids to catch up if they haven't had the advantage of at least 1 year of preschool, maybe more. We know that we don't have the space in most areas, most counties. Schools just don't have the room to put pre-K in a lot of schools. So we're also looking and trying to be creative about where we can put schools like that, and trying to find some way to incentivize parents to put their kids in preschool, be it a tax credit or something. We kind of were joking at a meeting the other day about calling them pre-K vouchers, but you say the word vouchers and everybody has a heart attack. Just because the governor's pretty prone on private schools and vouchers and that kind of stuff, and we do not want to go down that road. So anyway, pre-K is one of the big issues that we're really looking at. I'm going to have a bill in this year for child care subsidy, and I just noticed in this tax bill that they voted on in Capitol Hill last night, they're putting money in for a child care subsidy. I don't know how much exactly yet, but so if we could get something more out of that and out of the state level, we're just finding that and I'm in talking to businesses and stuff, it's almost at a crisis point because people are desperate for childcare, affordable childcare. So we have to find some way to fix it. And we're kind of at the bottom of the pile across the country as for what we do for childcare. We make more money than about any other state, and we don't spend it on the people that need it the most. So that's one of the issues. As far as education funding goes, that's another interesting topic, and people have been so worried about the report, the Augenblick report that came out last year that said that because of the wealth in Montgomery County, we should be getting like $36 million less in school funding. They also recommended there were 3 counties that shouldn't get any school funding, which, I mean, to put a report out like that is so ridiculous just doesn't make any sense. And we should have really, had we thought about it, we would have had the commission first and then commissioned the study after that with the input from the commission, but that didn't happen. Anyway, we have 4 people from Montgomery County on the Kerwin Commission. Rich Madalino is on there, Ann Kaiser, Craig Rice from the County Council, and me. And we've talked a lot about it. In fact, I was joking with the Senate President about it yesterday. There are a lot of things that are going to need all of the votes from Montgomery County on coming up in the next year or two. And they know already we are not going to take less money home for education funding. If anything, we're going to take more home. So that's the battle that we've already started to talk about and looking at it. It's all political. I hate to say it, but it is, and we'll be working that. But like I said, they will need us for a lot of things. They need us for budget votes, and we will not be supporting. Our whole delegation will be in line to make sure that we get the funding that we need. So we don't know what the formula is going to be yet. We're just kind of, that part is coming in the next year. So we'll see how that ends up being.
I had a couple of different questions.
Yes.
So on the Kerwin Commission, you talked a little bit about the consultant. Was the consultant, was that contract out to bid? Is that consultant just answerable to the chairman, or how did we suddenly select a?
Well, it's all kind of interesting because I did not select him. I would not have. He came to the National Conference of State Legislatures and gave quite a presentation. And Rich Madalino and one of our staff people over there just fell in love with the guy. But I mean, he does not see anything positive that we do, and he compares Maryland schools with schools in Singapore. Well, it's like comparing apples and oranges. And Singapore doesn't even educate all their kids. They pick the best ones and they educate those. And we educate all of our kids, every kid that comes to our door. So there's a huge difference.
Was it a no-bid contract, or how did?
My guess is that it was a no-bid contract.
There appears to be sort of a shift in, I don't know if blame is the right word, but there's concern that we as a county don't get an adequate share of state resources. So, we started out reacting to the Kerwin Commission's, the consultant's report, sort of laughing about it, and not even being that concerned, and then assuming that, the formulas work relatively okay, so why should we mess with them, to now, being openly challenging the notion that, we're responsible for 40% of the enrollment growth in the whole state, and yet proportionately we're getting very little in terms of capital improvement funding. I guess the domain of the...
Well, we got 56 million last year, and if you look at the formulas, we are getting a huge chunk of that. And the enrollment growth is figured into the formulas as far as the education funding goes. The county council and county executive have always loved to say that we didn't bring enough money home, but if you look at the formulas and you look at the amount of money that we do bring, it's sizable. And we are bringing a very fair share home. One thing I do want to mention, and I think it's going to be my bill, we are going to have legislation this year that says that the money coming from the slot machines is going to go directly to the Education Trust Fund. We're not going to put part of that money. We don't want to put that money into the general fund. We want that to go to the Education Trust Fund.
I have a question. It has to do with the funding formula. So the amount that we ask from the state for capital budget, because of our affordability, in this county, we get, I think, 50% of the ask. I was told that Howard County was just changed up to 51 or 52%. Is this true?
That's not my understanding.
Okay, because I heard from another.
I would be surprised. I have not heard that. I mean, we haven't done anything this year yet, so no.
Okay, so I didn't know if
I'm on the capital budget committee too.
Okay, excellent. I heard from another delegate, so I just figured I'd ask someone that would be very familiar with this. Also, is there any chance that could ever change for Montgomery County, that we would, looking at how we are fiscally this year, would that ever be looked at to change to get a bigger percentage?
Our time. If there's ever a time for us to change it, this is the year to do it. And that's why for the NOT Commission, I think it's that report is kind of done. But as far as the Kerwin goes, this is our chance to change whatever formulas that we need to change. So I'm not saying never. First, the Department of Legislative Services told us that we were going to have a $700 million deficit to start out with this year, and we have the budget first in the Senate. Yesterday, they told us it's about $240 million, which, yay, it's $240 million, but whoa, $240 million. It's still a deficit of $240 million. So, and things are not coming in. The gas tax has not come in like we thought it would come in. The income taxes are not coming in like we thought they would. So it's not like we're going to have a whole lot of extra money to spend, but we're not in as dire shape as we thought we were going to be either.
Okay, thank you.
For the pre-K schools, have you looked at other states who have, I'm from New York originally, but they have successfully implemented pre-K, and it has been, parents have really appreciated and have enrolled their children. I'm just wondering if we're looking at other models.
We're looking at some. In fact, there are so many private pre-Ks right now. A lot of them are in really bad financial shape because a lot of people have taken their kids and put them in public schools, but there are resources available for pre-K. We just have to find a way to pay them to do that. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to go as far as space goes, because we don't have room in all of our schools to.
You're thinking of, instead of creating them in school, or that we may be.
Doing some kind of a tax credit, even for paying for, and the thing is, we've got a request into the AG's office right now to find out. We don't know if we implement public pre-K, we don't know if the Constitution will allow us to charge anybody for it. That's what we have to